Spurs drove the final nail in our heart with that Europa League debacle, so let's stick a fork in this wretched season once and for all. Endure 90 more minutes of shit football against Aston Villa in the final game of this season, then brace for a summer of soul-sapping transfer gossip. Sir, let's put a fork in it. It's been the worst season in 50 years, the worst season since we've been alive and or fans. Let's end it on a high. Will the bluffers show up? Probably. How we feeling? How we doing before game week 38, last game of the season in the EPL, Manchester United versus Aston Villa?
Look, I'm actually excited for this game because it allows United to try to prove a point, to show some fight, to not fully capitulate into this horrible season. Look, they didn't show up in the final. It was horrific, but we need to show up. We're playing at home. It's the last game of the season. It's been a rough one. The players have to show some fight and show the fans that they want to stay here because everybody's being rumored to be on the chopping block. And it could go either way. Could be like under Ralph Rangnick, we saw Crystal Palace away. The players basically gave up in the last game of the season. Bruno was there, Harry Maguire. A lot of players were under Ralph Rangnick. Ronaldo and Pogba didn't even show up to that game. Everybody was so checked out. And I hope there's a different vibe. I hope there's a mea culpa from the team and they show up ready to fight and take it to Villa to, give the home fans something to go out with because they got the Malaysia tour, sir. We got to be sharp on our tools for that. We got to win the Malaysian Cup.
The cash grab cup. It's an interesting one, right? Because Rangnick, he was on the way out. They didn't want to listen to him. He was telling the Glazers everything they didn't want to hear. So we don't put up with that at Manchester United. It doesn't seem like Ratcliffe likes that either. I think that's why the Ashworth falling out, something he didn't want to hear. But here we are in a game where the manager's sticking around. They backed him after the final, after we lost that fucking pathetic final against the worst team you'll ever face in a final. And he's sticking around for the time being. But a lot of these players, it's going to be their final game as Manchester United players. Players that we already know about, right? Johnny Evans, Lindelof, Eriksson, but Garnacho almost certainly is going to be sold. Bruno could very well be sold. Such a scenario that felt like no way 2-3 days ago feels very likely, all dependent on the player's decision at this point. But this is a chance to just end this wretched season once and for all. Let's call it a day. This season's not been our season. We had one chance to turn it around. We fucking bottled it in the most Spursy way possible. We Spursied ourselves. And I just want the season to be over so we can, lick our wounds in the summer. And now it's all on Ineos. They have $100 million less to play with. They're going to have to be very, very smart. They're going to have to do even better than last. They have to. I'm just trying to be positive, but they have to have a hell of a summer.
I think they need to sell this club. I think the Glazers and they need to sell the club.
You're accelerating it, but that's where we're going to be in 2-3 year time.
No, where we need to be is they're going to give it a go. They're going to give next year a go. But if it does not go well, the only solution is to sell. The balance sheet, the financial situation with the club, and if you start stacking the fact that Champions League is getting farther and farther away, as you see other clubs climbing up the table, strengthening, right? Spurs getting the $100 million. This is not going to be easy for United to, claw its way back into Europe, especially if you're selling big players and you're going to a rebuild 2 to 3 seasons. How are we going to manage PSR? They're cutting more staff at United. It's kind of a grim picture all around. And I think if the financial picture was positive, you could sort out the football. Or if the football picture was positive, winning the Europa League, you could sort out the financials. But it's hard to kind of climb uphill against both. And I think ultimately that's going to prove probably a little too hard. If you put you and me in that situation running it, I would have to be realistic and be like, hey, this is probably not going to happen. So Ineos, they did make their bed. They're going to have to sleep in it. But ultimately the solution is probably selling to some nation state for 7 or 8 billion in that region at the end of the day, because the financial picture is dire. But sir, instead of getting into the financial picture, let's get into Aston Villa. They have a lot to play for. They're fighting for that top 4 spot. They can get in winning at Manchester United, but they would need City, Newcastle, or Chelsea to lose to secure the Champions League spot. So the only real jeopardy on the last day of the season is going to be who makes it into the top 5. And so Villa have everything to play for at Manchester United. We want to play spoilers, sir. We're kicking off at Old Trafford Sunday, May 25th, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern.
All the fixtures kick off at the same time, as is customary last game of the season. John and I were there, 3 seasons ago? Last season, the season right before Eric Ten Hag came in. Not the best game to go to. It was kind of fun to see the Liverpool lose, but you miss out the other games that you could watch the day before.
No, when we were losing, Crystal Palace was beating us up on the field,
up.
and we're literally refreshing the table on our phones to see if Liverpool's losing the league, and we can't even watch that game. It was horrible. I thought I was going to see Ronaldo play in person. He opted out of that game.
Didn't show up.
And he didn't play again for Manchester United, which is sad. But look, Eric Ten Hag, we know how that went, sir. Give us the weather for this game.
Weather, it's going to be a little rainy. We're going to be up in Manchester, of course, light rain. It's going to be high 50s. So, not quite the weather that we had in Bilbao. That was fabulous. This is a little bit more old English weather. Where we're eating, we're going to Bunny Jackson's, New Orleans style, dive bar, doing 20 pence wings, sir. So get yourself some lining for the stomach instead of a big booze up, a lot of heartburn coming out from Bilbao, a lot of sauce, heavy sauce degree. But we are talking, of course, about wings.
Like, this is more my speed.
Yeah,
if you're going to a game, why wouldn't you want some fried wings, get some sauce, some Bunny Jackson, sir? United, this is a critical match for Manchester United. If we lose it, we could dump to 17th. 17th. I've been reeling after the final. I am not over it.
No,
I'm 100% not over it. I'm kind of still got the 1,000-yard stare. Had an interaction with an Arsenal fan today.
How'd that go?
They were yelling at me for giving Spurs a trophy,
My God. What about your own
I
house,
just
bro?
can't even handle other fans of this. I'm just kind of looking at the club. How is Ineos going to deal with this? Then you have the Bruno sale. People think that that's going to give us money to give me a break. I just don't. There's just no way. It would defy reality to come out next year storming in the Amorim system with being able to do enough moves and have the players settle. Anytime you got to do a lot of moves in the summer, every single team I've seen do it, right? Like Tottenham post Bale when they sold Bale and they just brought in all these bodies. Players aren't settled. They're not ready to go. Anytime you do a ton of moves in the summer, it takes a season for players to kind of gain that chemistry, understand the system, work with the manager. It just feels like we're going to be treading water or we're behind the 8 ball always. And to put it all on next season seems crazy. But Ineos' goal is to make top 5 or 6 or whatever. But I just kind of feel like that's realistically such a tough target.
No, you see that. I mean, you saw that with Chelsea when they went on a huge buying spree. They had all this talent, and they didn't really know how to put it together. They had some managerial changes as well, of course, but it takes some time to settle. I think, like you said, it's one thing to climb Everest. It's another thing to climb Everest with somebody else on your back, and that's basically what you're trying to do with Ineos. Is they're trying to figure it out, but the financials are an absolute fucking disaster. They've got $1 billion of debt hanging over their head, so they have this time constraint because they have to get it right in a really short period of time. And let's be honest, we have not hit rock bottom yet. I think is it basically
fire? So this could be rock bottom.
It could be rock bottom, but we could also be in a genuine relegation fight next season, which we weren't. We kind of flirted with
firing Amorim. If we have to fire Amorim before Christmas, that will be rock bottom. So yes, we have not
rock bottom to date. Rock bottom up until then, until future rock bottoms are faced. We could get into that all day, sir. But I think it's going one way. I think it's going to fail. Let's talk about Villa. Let's talk about Aston Villa, the villains, pioneers of the pyramid, founded in 1874. Their famous Villa director, William McGregor, dreamed up the Football League in the first place in 1888, making Villa founding members of both the original league and the Premier League in 1992. Trophy machines, one of the original big boys in the early days under boss George Ramsay. They rattled off 6 league titles and 6 FA Cups by 1905. So their first true dynasty. They're kings of Europe, of course, for one night. One of just 6 English sides to win the European Cup. Villa stunned Bayern 1-0 in Rotterdam in 1982. And they have a storied history, sir.
They've been on the rise. They've been on the rise recently, under Unai Emery, Count Chocula, who basically another manager.
Villarreal.
We lose the European Cup. Now we're going to play Unai Emery. We can, get one back on him. They're currently in 6th. They need a win. And Chelsea, Newcastle are safe to slip up to get Champions League. I think that will be lively on the last day of the season. Let's look at it.
There's some motivation for us as well. Sorry, sir. I didn't mean to cut you off, but if they don't make Europe or Champions League, there's no chance they sign Marcus Rashford. If they do make it, there is a chance. I'm not saying it will happen, but they will not make. They're not going to sign him regardless. I think if they finish the Champions League, there's a chance.
His valuation is lower than 40 million, 100%, especially post this injury.
Well, we would do a deal. Like we would do, like if they were taking.
You have to remember that he's injured and his wages, right? So I agree. Could you sell Marcus Rashford for 40 million? The answer is yes, you could. But then you have to take the salary change. So that's where the upfront price of 40 million has to come down significantly, because an injured, overpaid Rashford who didn't really perform, no one's going to be paying that fee. So I don't think there's any jeopardy where we should be trying to bottle this game so that they could somehow
No, of
win.
course not.
No, this is a do not go quietly into the good night. These players will know who. This is an audition for who should be here next year. Like, if you care about this game, that you should care. You should. Amorim should go strong, and we should see who wants to fight for this badge.
I agree. Give the fans something. There's gonna be protests anyway. Let's talk about Count Chocula, a coach derided, ridiculed, I think, years ago during his Arsenal stint, but he's shown that he's a top manager and a manager that knows how to win. Another one of the Basque royalty, born in Hondarribia in 1971, 53-year-old. His grandfather and father were both pro goalkeepers, making him third generation in the game. Record 4-time Europa League winner. Sevilla 3 times, in Villarreal against you-know-who, plus a domestic quadruple with PSG. And a Europa League final run with Arsenal. I took over in October 24, 2022, the club's 16th place, and they've been flying, delivered European football, signed a long-term deal. So it's going well. He's a little bit of a nut. I know. I think a lot of them from the Basque Country are a bit nuts if you think about Arteta, his much less accomplished compatriot. Let's talk about tactics. He likes to play the 4-2-3-1, sometimes morphing in the 3-2-5. Cash likes to tuck in Digne on the other side. And they build with a back 3, double pivot before flooding 5 lanes up top. So very attack-minded. Center back holds the ball to the halfway line to compress play. They trust Martinez a lot with sweeping, so he's very involved in their build-up. And they like to do midfield box overloads, 2 pivots, McGinn and Ramsey, crowd the half spaces. They're a very athletic team. They really work hard. They all seem to buy into Unai Emery's system. And they're not overpaid bluffers. Their bluffer ratio is much lower than United. Our bluffer ratio is sky high, highest in the league, probably highest in world football, to be honest.
Talent in the team. Amadou Onana, we saw him played. He was
him.
Great. Marcus Rashford, Ollie Watkins, interesting. He isn't really fitting into Unai Emery's system. He's probably going to be a swap deal, maybe intra-league swap deal. They got Morgan Rogers, Pau Torres. So building a strong team. Also, Yuri Tielemans injured, but like a great value buy from Leicester City. United just, again, missing these value players as quality teams in the league going up and down. We might change that with the lap. Also, Leon Bailey, great team overall.
No, this is the difference. You want to get back to the promised land, you have to recruit. You have to be like elite in recruitment. And what you talk about, the big signings that make sense, but also the cost-effective signing. Because Kamara was another one. He was like £7 million. United were kind of interested, dragged their feet, and he's been playing very well, offers a high degree of physicality that United has been crying out for and lacking in the league. Recent records, so let's get into it. They've been, not quite the level that they were like earlier in the calendar year, but they're still in a position that they're fighting for European football. Let's get into it. They beat the team that beat us 2-0. They beat Bournemouth even with a man down. They beat Fulham. They lost to high-flying Palace, but, so did we. And then they got slightly edged by City. So they're dangerous. They're not playing maybe as good as they were 2 months ago, but it's not going to take much to beat Manchester United these days. But the interesting thing is, let's get into their 11v11 most recent record. They're one of the few teams where we actually have a very good record in the last 5 games. Unbelievably so. I couldn't even believe this when I saw it. We've only drawn 1-4. So our record in the last 5, now if you include the league games, we do have a loss. But the last 5 matchups, including a League Cup appearance, we are undefeated. So we need that to carry on. Talking about players to watch, player that we could use. They didn't get anybody in January to back up the attack. Ollie Watkins, he's their top scorer, 29-year-old English striker, 16 league goals. Could certainly use a player like that, EPL proven. He's going to have a point to prove. Like I said, they've got Europe to play for. They're the kind of team that seems always motivated. Like when you have good players, low bluffer ratio, you don't need to will them into trying hard.
They have more attacking options than Manchester United, and that's all you need to know. Martinez, the great Argentinian troll in net. Matt Eat Cash. Pau Torres, a great defender. Amadou Onana. It's going to be all about the midfield, like McGinn.
Asensio's good.
Great work rate. So United, we're kind of on the outs.
Kinda
On the outs.
Kinda.
Like, I would just want to see some. I want to see some fight. Injuries is looking like Rashford. Obviously, he's not going to feature, and obviously the loan deal. Tielemans is doubtful. Cash is out. Mings another doubt. Barkley could be on the bench. So they have some injuries, but this is a huge game for them. And on the ref watcher, who do we got?
Thomas Bramall, low profile. This is what I want in my refs. I don't want Chris Kavanagh. I don't want Martin Tyler, like, what's his name? Who's the other jackass? Anyway, the low profile refs, less drama, less noise, less time talking about it on Sky Sports. So that's a good thing in my mind. Let's talk about Manchester United 11. The reason I highlighted the bench was, I don't know, he probably should go full steam ahead. But like you said, I'd also be playing kids who want to have an impact next year. But then you also have to keep in mind players who we're not gonna see again. Like I'd like Garnacho to play because this is his last game. It's over. Like that's done. It's so clear. So I want to see him because he should have started the Europa League final. And
by the way, the Garnacho saga is everyone kind of blaming Garnacho.
Who's blaming Garnacho?
I don't know. I just feel like just the consensus is like, get rid of Garnacho is like something really easy and be like, we don't have attacking talent. So it's like, we're already trying to get rid of Anthony, Rashford, Sancho. And then like, look, he probably like the attacking talent is going to have ego. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be a little like, not every striker is going to be so humble. You know what I'm saying? So like, is Ollie Watkins like has an ego? He's falling out with Unai Emery. I don't know what it is, but like, attackers and managers, I just feel like there should be a Zlatan Ibrahimovic, huge ego. Like him at United, it was a great marriage because Mourinho just got it. Like let Zlatan be Zlatan. I just feel like this whole like power struggle with like attacking players with egos and like managers, it's just like how many more Garnachos are we going to create out of the academy? Like we're just shipping all these good attackers out, and I'm like, all right.
I'm not advocating for getting rid of him. I'm reading the tea leaves.
No, he's going. We called this a while ago.
I mean, like
we called it
a while ago before the
it's
final.
It's not a good thing.
It's not.
He's being sold because of PSR. It's not because he has a bad attitude.
But he's falling out with the manager. I don't care about attitude.
Okay,
I don't care about. Like, hold on. He wasn't started. The manager threw him under the bus, which he shouldn't have done, and then Garnacho made comments they shouldn't have made. So it's all going one way. I'm not saying.
But this is a player. This is a player who was basically put on the block by Ineos in January. So what kind of loyalty does a player have to a club who's already trying to ship him out to Italy? So the whole idea is like that's a huge deal if Ineos is like flirting about valuation with other clubs mid-market, mid-season. It's going to impact the player on the pitch. So I don't blame a player.
He's a kid
who doesn't want exactly. So like United,
I blame the coach. I'm blaming the coach. That's what I blame.
Ineos should back Amorim. Ineos should back certain players as well. And I just feel like when you're starting to kind of talk about selling players, like they're not going to have loyalty to you, or that's going to undermine the relationship with the manager. And then like it's easy to throw them under the bus on the way out. But like you said, I don't think that's a reason to start Garnacho, but it is a reason for Evans, Lindelof, and Eriksen to feature. Also, Bruno Fernandes. Right now, we're discussing. Is he going to go to Saudi? That's another one where I believe in my footballing gut, like he's going to go to Saudi Arabia because Manchester United can't turn down the money. This will be an Ineos. Again, Ineos will sell Garnacho because of PSR. Ineos will sell Bruno Fernandes because we cannot turn down that cash right now. There's arguably no reason to have Amorim be the coach if you cannot get the money to then run this team. Additionally, the questions of like, Bruno Fernandes in the Amorim system, is he a 10? Obviously he should be playing 10, but he hasn't been. And I think this club's so broke, we just got to sell everybody, burn it all down, and then try again. And if that fails, then you know what? Sell it to Qatar. Like that's literally the game plan.
It's coming.
Shouldn't be the game plan. So this could be a bye-bye Bruno game. Like this would be, if he's going, it should be done in a way where he can thank the fans before he heads out. And if it happens, this could happen fast. And obviously we're recording this before the game, but we'll see.
No, and this is a player decision. As much as like the club would love to sell him for $100 million, he won't go to Saudi Arabia unless he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. But that's big money. $200 million is generational wealth. These guys already make so much money that their kids will never have to work. But that is like. That's G5 money, bro. That's like so.
No, you don't. By the way,
no. If 30, I would take that money.
If I'm boys with Bruno, I'd be like,
yo, bro,
you don't turn.
Sucks. This team is shit.
No, like he has a lot to say in Europe, but it's not worth the money. Like and for United, it'd be like this is a one where both parties it's
I
too
think it's
good to
happening.
be
I think it's
true.
happening.
Like that's kind of where it comes from. I don't know why they want to pay this type of money, but
Because nobody wants
it doesn't
to go
come
there.
around often. Sorry, get into the odds.
United are the big underdogs, plus 350 at home, probably appropriate, plus 300 for the draw, and minus 140 for Villa. Sir, it is tight. Prediction game going down the last game of the season. 9-point game, 9-point lead. I called the loss. I knew those fucking bluffers would bluff it. So now we sit where you have a 9-point lead, and the last game of the season, you have to pick first.
Yeah, let's go. Let's see the
Oh,
chart.
it's tight.
All right, it's 10 points for the correct
That's
score.
fun. We kept it tight.
It's 3 for a loss. So you have to get
I have to get a perfect score. That's the only chance I have.
Yeah, you have
but
to
I have a chance.
You do
And
have
you get to go first.
You
so
do have
go
a
first.
chance. Well, I mean, like if you're trying to win this game, there's only one result that you're going to pick. I'm going to pick a loss for Manchester United. I am going to pick 2-1 to Aston Villa. That's what I'm going to go for.
I'm gonna also pick a loss. It's all about prediction. It has to be the right prediction. 3-1 Villa. Last game of the season, sir. Put us out of our misery.
That's that steak Wagyu on the line.
Let's go. You can get your Wagyu.
I'm not even a fan of Wagyu,
No,
but I'm just like trying to hurt my boy.
I want that.
This is like a full season.
I want that I want that prime Angus beef, sir. I'm looking forward to my bone and ribeye. Get to hang out with my best friend and lament this season. You know.
I haven't recovered. I'm still I feel like I'm carrying something with me. Like I'm just, and I think about it, I'm like, sigh, just like this is we're going to deep water here. Like this is like 1,000-yard stare.
We're in hell, bro.
Like, and you think about Erik ten Hag and you think about kind of how he got here, and it's like Mourinho, and you're like, all right, we still got that magic. Zlatan comes on, bam, scoring goals, Bailly, Pogba. You kind of have some dogs there. Obviously, it went south. Ole was kind of the moment where it was just player FC.
Yeah.
And we have not recovered from that because it was like you went from player FC to hard, weird Dutch guy who just like blew $650 million, just a $650 million hole into this team that is unrecoverable. Like, and I even when we were spending it, like the Højlund deal, look, I like him. I think there's a footballer there, but paying that type of money and having him be the lead to be like, I need a striker, and that's the solution is insanity. Antony, insanity. Like there's a lot of these deals that you just can't recover from that amount of money. Like 150 million into that, or like include Mason Mount in that, 200 million into like 250 into Onana, Mount, Højlund, and Antony. You can't recover from that. Like you cannot recover from this. And the fact that was like the last max of the credit card, and we're here and we got no money, and the team looks the way it is. And it's like we had hope with Ineos, but they backed off the director of football.
They don't know what they're doing.
They made it Sir Jim FC. Yeah. And I just feel like the Ten Hag was like really kind of like he won those cups, but the real undercurrent in the league, a lot of destruction was done to the squad. A lot of destruction was done to this locker room. And I don't know how we recover. Like if you think about it, it's like Ole, player FC, into the hard Dutch guy, and then you bring in Amorim, and like what's left? And the answer is like nothing.
But
it's nothing.
They're not following the playbook. They're like going back to just one manager to the next. We recruit for that manager. There's no overarching philosophy. There's no director of football who's saying, hey.
No, exactly. But also like the bringing Erik ten Hag back, like that led to this season being like that decision to me is the most important decision was like, if we won that FA Cup, I was like, get rid of him. Like, hey, thanks, but you got to go. And that not doing that led to this season, like this full season of misery, putting Amorim in a bad spot, not giving Amorim the money. I just feel like
because
you watched the league last year. You watched the league from February to May, and you're like, this isn't working. We need to move on, and we need a fresh. That $200 million we spent this summer had to be for a new project. And they put it on his project, and they brought in Amorim, and we have no money to do his. And that to me, that decision from Ineos, and it's unfair to say, hey, that was such a huge decision, and they got it wrong, and to say that's like really only the major, like that and Ashworth to me are the two that just they got the two most important decisions absolutely wrong, and we are reeling because of that.
They put good football people in place, and then they had some old cranky billionaire come over the top and decide how and what we should make decisions on a day-to-day basis. It's very simple. It's like, this is the reason the Ineos project will fail, is failing in real time, because you have this old guy who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, who can't get out of his own way. Like, let them run it. You hire smart people, but if you second guess their decision making, then like, what's the point of hiring smart people in the first place that have domain expertise? You do not have domain expertise. Nice is a fucking disaster. You might make your money
that's
back.
the playbook.
Like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Villa, how have they gotten better? They hired smart fucking people, they recruited well, and they gave them years and years, and now they're on their way up. Newcastle, all these, other than Chelsea, who are just like 300 million, 400 million, like, yeah, I think they're just throwing cash at it, and it might work out. We don't have that kind of cash. What I'm saying is, there's a playbook, we're not following the playbook, and we're going to fail for the exact same reasons, different lens slightly, as Glazers. It's just like, just throwing money at it from one manager to the next, and there's no continuity plan. They think they know better.
So yeah, big protest 1958 before Aston Villa. Like, we were there before the Arsenal match protesting in solidarity with 1958. That's it. Like, we got to get the owners out. Like, to be honest, like, hey, Ineos, you had your shot. You bottled it. You made it worse through kerosene on already, like, burning flame. Like, you know, they're not the guys to turn it around. But you want to support the podcast, like and subscribe on YouTube. Comment below. Let us know what you think about Manchester United and your score prediction for Aston Villa. The last game of the season is going to end, sir. The season will end.
Thank God.
And it will go in the history books one way or another. Also, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/AmericanReddevils. Join, be a part of our top Red Devil community, and check us out at americanreddevils.store. Grab some merchandise, support the podcast. We need your support. It's been a rough go. We have broken down and recapped every single game of this entire season, including the whole Europa League, all the way to the death blow. Sir, so we need a little break for summer, and let's hope we can do some frisky business. We're not going to Malaysia. Let's just say it that way. Sir, give us our top 10 downloads last 7 days.
Number one, how you doing? How you doing? Dublin, Ireland, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, Oslo, Norway, New York, Brooklyn, New York, Manchester, England, Orlando, Florida, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Melbourne, Australia. Sir, I also realized I just doomed myself the score prediction, so congratulations, you just won. Well done. What a fucking idiot I am. But hey, it's been a hell of a season. I think the score prediction thing has kept us honest throughout, and we love the fans. We love you guys. We love the community. We appreciate you backing us. First year in YouTube, you get to see our ugly faces week in, week out. I love this team. We'll be back. It's just that we have a lot. I think we have not hit rock bottom yet. I think that's coming. And hey, but we'll be here with you on the ascendancy that comes over the next decade. Be patient.
Or the championship,
Football
whatever it comes.
Dude, championship be fun,
No,
man.
but
Some of the away grounds, West Brom, like, you know, it'll be frisky. It'll be a good
United
time.
needs to get out of like this conversation that we're in with ownership and money, and it's like we got to get out of this, and we got to get into like enjoying our football again. And it's just like it's a horrible cycle. I thought Ineos would break the cycle, and look, I was wrong. They didn't. Like, I thought they'd hire smart people. And
they did, and then they didn't.
Usually you don't invest that much money unless you're going to bring in smart people. But sir, take me home, United Road. Let's go. Let's have a oldie but goodie here on the pod.
I was born to be united. Daddy told me when I was just a baby.